It's Sunday afternoon. Been missing since Wednesday. Please, if you get this message, please call me. I don't know where you're at. I miss you so terribly. Please call.
A mother of triplets would suddenly vanish, but the answers to where she was always close to home. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Jacque Rawson Waller. Viewer discretion is advised. Jacque Sue Rawson was born on December 26, 1971, and this was in Bona Terra, Missouri. Missouri. Both. She was born to Stanley and Ruby, and she would be one of 3 sisters. Jacque was always considered a big family person. She was very, very close with her parents, very close with her sisters. They were just like the tightest, closest family. She was a very bubbly, very happy-go-lucky type person, very carefree. And it seemed like she had this ability to see the good in everyone. But unfortunately, there isn't always good in everyone. This would be the case with the man that she met. His name was James Clay Waller. They would end up getting married at some point, like in the early 90s or so. And like I said, Jacque, she fell in love with him and she saw the good in him, but her family didn't see that. They looked at him as this very pompous, arrogant, kind of a jerk. He seemed to have a bit of a temper, and they described Clay, as he would go by to everyone, as being not compatible with the rest of the family. He just never fit in with everyone else. Clay was just extremely socially awkward, and he was very, very, very rough around the edges. Now, they would end up living in Cape Girardeau County, there in Missouri, and apparently at one point Clay got a job working for the Cape Girardeau Sheriff's Department, but that only lasted like a year-ish before he was fired. And then he would bounce around from job to job, never being able to actually hold a job for very long. Meanwhile, Jacque is basically solidifying her career, and she ends up becoming the breadwinner of the family. She gets a job at Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she works her way up into a management position. And basically it was her income that was supporting her and Clay. This entire time, Jacque is also really, really wanting to be a mother. She has dreams of starting a family and growing a family, and it was unfortunately not an easy process for her. She was having a hard time conceiving, so they would end up getting the in vitro fertilization process going, and she got pregnant. And to her surprise, to everyone's surprise, it wasn't just with one baby. It was with 3. She got pregnant with triplets. And on October 14th, 2005, she gave birth to them. Their names were Avery, Maddox, and Addison. From the very moment, basically, that Jacque figured out she was pregnant, she was already in mom mode. She was getting everything ready to become a parent. She was getting everything ready to basically raise the kids. And then the kids got here, and she just adored the heck out of these kids. She absolutely loved them. She pampered them. She was the best mom you could possibly ask for, even with having her hands full with a full-time job in a management position, and now she's got triplets. But she was handling it really, really well, for the most part on her own. Her family helped her a lot, but Clay, nothing. He really had nothing to do with anything. He did not help Jacque pretty much at all with raising the kids. She was doing everything. And she is, stressing out. She's like, I got all this stuff to handle. Clay, you're not doing a damn thing. I need help. And he's just like, very flippant about it. At times even aggressive about not wanting to participate in being a parent. He just wasn't there, really. But apparently Clay felt entitled to everything that Jacque earned. And, when she wasn't doing something that he liked, he would become very, very abusive. Physically abusive and emotionally abusive. He would tear this poor woman down basically daily. Several years into this, she is struggling to kind of keep this family afloat, all thanks to Clay. I mean, she's doing everything she possibly can, and she's doing a wonderful job at everything she can do. But by 2010, she starts basically notating every fight that she and Clay have and basically writing down everything he says to her. And in some of her journal entries, she writes down things that Clay said, like after telling him that, hey, I'm thinking about filing for divorce. Clay said to her, quote, well, then I have a feeling one of us won't be around to watch the kids grow up, end quote. In another journal entry, she wrote down another thing he said, which was, quote, if you take my kids, I will kill you, end quote. She wrote down that at one point he threatened to kill the kids in front of her just to see her pain, and then he would kill her. So Jacque, at this point, this is becoming more than just emotional and physical abuse. This is him threatening to take her life, but also the life of their children. And so she goes to her family, tells them everything, and that she really needs to get away from him. And she said to them, I am afraid for my life and I'm afraid for the lives of the kids. So she was basically able to, when Clay was gone, basically able to get out of the house and move in with her sister. And she took the kids with her, obviously. And she told Clay, we are getting a divorce. And this is about 2011 now. And he apparently at first says he's going to go along with it. He appears to move on. He moves to Jackson, Missouri. He gets a girlfriend. She starts, kind of casually dating people as well, just to see if, anyone clicks with her and the kids. But on June 1st, 2011, there was a meeting to discuss the divorce papers. So Jacque and Clay met at like a pharmacy or in some kind of store that had a pharmacy in it. And it was just more of like a public meeting. And this was actually caught on CCTV camera. And then after that, Jacque and Clay leave separately, which is witnessed. And then Jacque is later seen again on CCTV, I think at an ATM. And she's just withdrawing some money. And that is the last image that anyone would ever see of Jacque being alive. Jacque, around that time, had called her sister to say, hey, I'm going to stop back by Clay's house to pick up one of the kids. And then, because I guess one of the kids was over with him. And then she said she would be back on her way back to the house with her sister. But that never happened. Jacque never got back home. This process should have only taken a grand total of maybe a couple hours tops. But after a couple hours, her sister was getting worried that she wasn't home, and she tried calling her cell phone. Jacque wouldn't pick up. No one was answering. She tried calling Clay. Clay wasn't answering. She's leaving voicemails. The sister is leaving voicemails everywhere. But no one's getting back to her. And then a couple more hours goes by, and her sister was like, something is wrong. Given the history with Clay being as violent in the threats, something is wrong. So she goes to police to report her sister is potentially missing. Now, eventually, the sister gets a hold of Clay. Clay says, I don't know where she is. Basically, we were at my house, and then I left the house to go get something, and when I got back, Jacque was gone, and her vehicle was no longer in the driveway. So I just assumed she left the house. I don't know where she went. When the sister notified police, given the history that Clay had, and they were kind of familiar with it, they did not think that this was a situation where she just picked up and left. They pretty much felt from the get-go that Jacque was in danger or something had already happened to her. So they immediately questioned Clay. He tells them, yeah, me and Jacque, after we met for the divorce stuff, she got back to my house where we took a nap together. Now, Jacque had gone to the house saying she was going to pick up one of her kids. But it turns out that the child she was picking up, the son, wasn't actually there. He never was. He was with Clay's girlfriend in Illinois, but Jackie didn't know that. Kind of as this is going on, police are notified of a vehicle on an interstate that's just abandoned. And they would find out that that car was Jackie's car. And the car had a flat tire, like the tire was completely flat. But when they were looking at it and investigating it, they noticed that the rim had no damage to it. It wasn't crushed or anything, which to them said that this was staged, that the tire was probably slashed after it had already stopped. The car had already stopped. They look in her car. There's no blood. There's no sign of an altercation. Nothing that would normally be in the car was missing, but Jackie was missing. So now police are like telling Clay, listen, can we search your house? Can we search your car? Can we search your belongings? He said, nope. And he got an attorney right away. Humongous red flag. And then, of course, Jackie is still out there missing. But police have enough probable cause to get a warrant to search all of these things. So they search Clay's vehicle. In his vehicle, they find blood kind of everywhere. And so, obviously, this is a big concern, and they take samples of the blood. It turns out that blood was fish blood. And part of the warrant was they were also to search Clay's phone. They found a video on Clay's phone of him taking fish blood and smearing it all over his car as a way to, he said, test police. For what? I don't know. But it was fish blood. Police also noticed that Clay had called Jackie after she was reportedly missing and left this very distraught voicemail. And this is what it was.
Hey, honey, it's Sunday afternoon. Been missing Wednesday. Please, if you get this message, please call me. I don't know where you're at. I miss you so terribly. Please call.
Something about it just seemed very iffy, very staged. It didn't seem like authentic emotion. To those who knew Clay, they thought that was a performance. But now police get access to search Clay's house, and they find a lot of blood. They find spots of blood spatter kind of all over the place. They also notice that there's a section of carpet cut out from his floor. That's never a good sign. People don't just typically remove squares of carpet for no good reason. But then they find that carpet that had been ripped up. He had stored it or try to hide it somewhere. And so when they unrolled it, they found on that carpet a bunch more blood stains. The blood on that piece of carpet and the blood that was found kind of scattered throughout the house all was confirmed to be that of Jackie Waller. They couldn't say for sure she was dead, but obviously this is not a good sign. It definitely appeared that she probably was, but they had no proof because they had no body. And there was no sign or any witnesses who said they have seen Jackie anywhere. Thankfully, the courts there in Missouri agreed with Jackie's family that Clay, given the circumstances, should not have custody of these children for their safety. And given the journal entries that police would later find that says, I'll kill the kids if you try to take them, the courts agreed and they gave custody of the children to Jackie's family. And they took them away from Clay. And so what does Clay do in response to that? He only posts something online threatening to murder Jackie's sister for taking the kids. This is on public record. He threatened someone over the internet. That's a crime. And so police were able to place federal charges on him for that. He was actually convicted of that threat. And this is why you guys need to take it seriously when you threaten someone over the internet and how serious it is. He got 5 years in prison for it, for threatening someone on the internet. It's a real thing. It happens. You shouldn't do it. So, now that he's securely in prison, they're still trying to find Jackie, but Police have enough circumstantial evidence. By his own admission, Jacque was last seen in his place. Her blood is in his home. He cut out carpet with her blood on it, tried to hide the carpet. They found the journal with her, basically notating how he threatened to murder her, especially if she ever tried to divorce him. And then lo and behold, after she says we're divorcing, she turns up missing. It's enough circumstantial evidence and enough physical evidence that they're able to actually place first-degree murder charges on him, even though they still don't have her body. Jacque's family wanted her body. For obvious reasons. They wanted to be able to lay her to rest. They knew at this point she was very likely dead. But they wanted that closure. They wanted that answer as to where she was. So they basically worked with the prosecution that said, if Clay will give up where she is so we can have her and we can bury her, we will agree to lessen the charges. And so the family and the prosecution both agree. And they take it to Clay, and he agrees. Now, for a while, he's saying he had nothing to do with it. He didn't kill her. He had nothing to do with her disappearance. But when they present him with this deal, which would then be second-degree murder, he basically confesses. And because of this, he would be given a 20-year prison sentence on top of the 5 years he was already kind of in the middle of serving. This is now basically a couple years after she went missing. On June 1st, that's when he and Jacque meet up to discuss the divorce papers. But then he says that after the two of them met, Jacque went somewhere to the ATM, which was seen on camera, and then she went back to his house where he said they had consensual sex. And then at one point, he said he accidentally headbutted her nose, which caused her to bleed. He says Jacque then basically freaks out, gets really upset, and says, this is domestic abuse. I'm going to file domestic abuse charges against you. So he said she coaxed him into a rage, and then he beat her and strangled her to death. And then he just put her in a trash bin, her body, and then put her body in the trash bin in the back of his truck. He then goes about his business with her body in the back of his truck. He goes and picks up his son in Illinois with his girlfriend. They go shop at a Toys R Us for a little bit. Meanwhile, Jacque's body is just sitting in the back of his truck while they're shopping in a toy store. And then after he drops his girlfriend and son off, he then takes her body and buries her. So he will eventually lead police to that location, and they do in fact recover the body of Jacque Waller. Meanwhile, he's still basically blaming this on Jacque, saying it was her fault because, she got mad at him and threatened him with domestic abuse charges because he accidentally headbutted her nose. So at any rate, he gets sentenced to 20 years in prison. While in prison, he basically is cellmates with an individual. His name was Cedric Dean. Clay Waller basically told Cedric that Clay was given financing or something in order to write a book about how he killed his wife. Cedric Dean was in prison basically for the rest of his life because of drug trafficking charges. While in prison, because he never graduated high school, he taught himself basically how to write and how to write books. And so he became an author in prison. He would then use his knowledge to help other inmates get their GED while in prison. He turned his life around. So now that he's partnered basically up in prison with Clay Waller talks about this book. He finds out that, Cedric is an author. And so Clay says, hey, maybe you can write the book and I'll take $10,000 from whatever the book earns and give it to a foundation of your choice. And then we'll take the rest of the money and we'll give it to my kids. So Clay titles this book, If You Take My Kids, I'll Kill You. And then it was subtitled The Public Confession of Missouri's Most Notorious Wife Killer. Kind of a long title there, bud. So Cedric Dean finishes the manuscript, right, after getting all of this information from Clay about everything that happened. And so Cedric Dean manages to actually smuggle the manuscript out of prison, unbeknownst to Clay. Clay and Cedric get into a big argument, and there is Basically, Clay tries to say that Cedric extorted me, blah, 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 which none of that was true. And so both men were separated, now in different cells. So basically, authorities found their hands on this manuscript. And they discovered, and they would go and talk to Cedric Dean in person to get more information from him. But basically, Clay Waller had told Cedric that he had pre-dug the grave for Jackie the day before Jackie's eventual murder. That he did that in Illinois. And he did so with the intent to take Jackie from Missouri, cross into Illinois with domestic abuse in mind, and then to bury her. So what it proved was that the whole thing was actually premeditated murder. But Clay was already here to take a plea deal for second-degree murder, and he got a 20-year sentence. So police and prosecutors had to get a little creative here, because now we have another crime being admitted to, which is crossing state lines for the intent of domestic abuse, and you pre-dug a grave. And these were Clay's own words. And then, so basically they were able to put more charges on him for that specific aspect of this crime, and they got Cedric Dean to testify against him. And so because of that, Clay Waller would plead guilty to federal charges of interstate domestic violence. And he was given 35 more years in prison, on top of the 20 and on top of the 5 he was already currently serving. And so he basically admitted that the whole thing was premeditated, it wasn't an accident, and, you know, he planned to kill her. That he had lured her to his place with the promise of picking up their son, who wasn't even there, and then he killed her. And then he buried her in the pre-dug grave that he pre-dug. Kind of the cool thing, because of Cedric Dean, because of the manuscript that he wrote, and because of all of his cooperation, he was actually granted early release. He wouldn't have to serve the rest of his life in prison. They let him out for all the cooperation he gave. And now Cedric Dean is out there trying to educate people, helping people get their GEDs, working with prisoners, that kind of thing. So he's truly turned his life around. Because of this story, he got a second chance at life. And Clay Waller, well, if you add all of his sentences together, he's spending the next 60 years of his life in prison. So, sucks to suck. Meanwhile, because of him, his 3 children don't have a father, which never seemed like they truly did. But most importantly, their 3 kids are growing up without their mother. A loving, caring mother who would do anything for her kids. And it seemed like she paid the ultimate sacrifice in order to save her kids. So I hope Jackie Waller is resting in peace. But that is it for this case, True Crime Maroonies. I hope you found it interesting. As usual, if you have tripped, fallen, and stumbled your way into this video, hello, I'm Mike. How you doing? Great. I don't know who I'm talking to. Myself, I guess. What? Anyway, subscribe to me here, give this video a like, and then if you want to see more true crime stories for me, I have thousands of true crime stories over on my TikTok page, which is also in the link tree in the description below, so you can easily find it. If there's a case you want me to cover, just email me. That's also listed below. Just email me the name of the person, where it happened, when it happened, and I will add it to the list. And then I pick my cases at random, so I can't tell you exactly when I'll cover it, but eventually I will. Next, if you want to support me in any way, we do sell merch like this t-shirt here that I've been wearing, amongst other shirts and hoodies and a wine glass. We do ship internationally, all over the big world. Yeah, so feel free to partake in that if you like. And then lastly, if you have a Discord account and you want to join my Discord server, it's linked in the link tree below. Please be over the age of 18 or else you're going to be kicked out of there. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, chill Discord, very quiet. It's not a very busy one, just a little quiet place to hang out and chat. So if you want to, it's there for you. All right, True Crime Rooney Dooney Ding Dongs, that is it for this video. So, I don't know what, I don't know what that was. What are you guys still doing here? You can leave. There's the door. I don't know why you're still sitting there staring at me. This is what I do. I just sit here and stare at my camera until the next time to film, so. You're invading my privacy. Get the fuck out. You're still here. That's so sweet. Aw, I love you guys. Okay. I'm a very disturbed person. Bye.